city, the state, the country. Before I get started, I want to just make an announcement about the block, the Black Local Organizing Committee that a lot of us have formed. We have our meetings every Thursday from 6 to 8 on Zoom. So if you want to know more about us, email us at blacklocalorganizingcommittee@gmail.com, and that is the block. And I also have a special announcement to make. On May 20th, which is a Saturday, from 2 to 4:30, we will be having our graduation. Yes, Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute. Help us celebrate our youth and young adults as they graduate from the Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute. That will be May 20th from 2 to 4:30 at the DeWitt Center at 122 DeWitt Drive in Roxbury. To RSVP, the number is 617-297-7162. And our keynote speaker is going to be Jackie Jenkins Scott, the interim president at Roxbury Community College. So we are excited. We are happy that we have finished our second cohort of the Marcus Anthony Hall. We have one more class. And we're excited because the speaker of that class is here today in my studio. Well, I call him Doctor, I don't know why. Charlie Titus. I'm just going to read a little bit of his bio. Currently retired as the Vice Chancellor for Athletics, Recreation, Special Projects, and Programs at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Titus was instrumental not only in the growth of UMass Boston athletics, but also of collegiate athletes in New England and across the country. One of the most prominent and respected names in collegiate athletics. Am I saying that right?
College athletics.
Yeah, okay. Charlie Titus was the face of the University of Massachusetts Boston athletics for over 3 decades. Having served as UMass Boston's first director of athletics, Titus helped launch the UMass Boston athletic program, which over the years has attained tremendous success, including multiple national, regional, and conference championships. Since his beginning at UMass, Titus has held several positions across the university, including the university first and only head coach of men's basketball until 2015. Titus also received perhaps one of the greatest honors any coach can hope to receive, being named to the New England Basketball Hall of Fame. Titus is a 2-time LEC Conference Coach of the Year. He has served on several committees both at the university level and in college athletics. Still a member of the National Association of College Directors of Athletes, NACDA, Titus has played a major part in developing policies that have significantly shaped college athletics today. And it goes on and on and on. Thank you, Charlie, for taking time out your busy schedule to come join us today at my radio broadcast. How are you? I'm
good, and I'm happy to be here, Priscilla.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're happy to be here. I'm just excited. I really didn't know you until I guess I started meeting with Professor Dermadari with the advisory council for UMass Africana Studies and all the craziness that's going on over there. But that's when I think I first met you, and then I think we was on some community dialogues with Mosaic. Is it high ground or upper?
Boston's High Ground.
Yeah.
The community crossover dialogues.
Right. And so, but then I met you in person, I think, at an event that Charlotte Gorla Ritchie gave at GBH. I think that's the first time I saw you in person. So tell us, what makes Charlie tick? Because you definitely are athletic. I thought you played pro ball. Because you're so tall. There's not a whole lot of tall brothers in Boston unless they play ball, right? So tell us your journey and how you got to where you're at.
Well, I was born and raised in Boston. Spent the early part of my life in the old Columbia Point Housing Project, which is now Harbor Point. And as a teenager,
Oh, we do? okay.
Family
Good.
moved into Roxbury.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I went to Boston Public Schools,
Mm-hmm.
graduated from Boston Tech, went off to college, and returned home. Um, I had the good fortune of having some really good mentors when I was growing up. So John D. O'Brien was my health teacher and football coach at Boston Tech.
Okay.
The Reverend Michael Haynes was the person who put together a group called the Exquisites, which was a high school club that I was a part of, and so forth and so on. You know, I worked at ABCD when I first got out of college, and Bob Cord, who ran ABCD, in my view, was an outstanding, probably the best administrator I've ever been around, and understood the politics of this city and this country very well. So he became a tremendous mentor to me. And I could go on and on. Fortunately, I crossed paths with some tremendous black men early in my life, and wanted to emulate a lot of what they did, and that was supporting people, working for young people, trying to make life better for young people. And I was fortunate enough to get on at UMass Boston when it was in its infancy. Back in 1974, they just moved to the Harbor campus. They used to be downtown.
Okay. Okay.
And when I went there were no programs in athletics. There was really very little there. We started with a club basketball team. Had a lot of success. Recruited two key players from this area, Mike Mitchell and Larry Higginbottom.
Oh, okay. I know Mr. Higginbottom.
Yeah. And they were great players, actually, and it was a set of circumstances that led them to UMass Boston. Both of them we weren't even in NCAA school at the time, and both of them probably could have played very easily Division I basketball. As a matter of fact, Mike Mitchell got drafted by the Celtics.
Oh, okay.
Graduated from UMass Boston. So,
I don't want to interrupt you, but I think we have a call. We have a caller? Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, this is Karen Bunch, chairwoman of Greater Grove Hall Main Street. Just calling in to say good morning to both of you, and Charlie. Hi, how are you? And good morning.
good morning, Karen. How are you?
Good. I was here this morning working on some paperwork, and a little bird dropped on my shoulder that you were going to be on the show this morning, so I had to call in.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Karen.
Yes. And Priscilla, you're doing a wonderful job out there, and I just wanted to say that in reference to Charlie Titus, he's a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. He's always been very supportive of me, and he's just a really, really good king of kings. He's a really good man. So, Charlie, I just want to say I appreciate you and thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and you know we appreciate you and the work that you're doing up at Grove Hall.
Yep. Thank you, Karen.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you calling in. Appreciate you listening.
Yes. All right. You
Okay.
guys take care and have a blessed day.
You too.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Yeah, Karen does good work up, and she's the chairwoman of Grove Hall, not Grove Hall in D.C., Grove Hall Main Street, yep. Yeah, she works there with Ed Gaskin and some other brothers, and so okay, so I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we had a call, so I.
That's quite all right. So anyway, I was able to carve out I think a pretty decent career at the University of Mass Boston, and while doing that, was able to focus a little bit of my time on working in our community, particularly as it related to helping develop, nurture programs for young people.
Right, because our young people, especially nowadays, they really need some guidance, and they really need to see black men in positions of power, and to see them doing something different, that is not, always the same old, that we do have some strong black men in our community. So that is why I'm glad that you're going to come to teach our class on Saturday. Teach these young men how, and women. But this class we have more men. This is the first class we've had more men than women. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to hear you teach these young men because I'm our brothers and sisters, and they just seem to have gotten lost, and a lot of them, I know they don't want to be lost, but sometimes they just don't have the leadership to help them and mold them.
Well, it's important that you, and interesting that you use the term leadership because that's what my class is going to focus on. Good. I'm going to work with the students on Saturday and defining leadership, the types of leadership, what it means to be a leader, the difference between authoritative leadership and moral leadership, and trying to drive home the point that in one regard or another, we're all leaders and we can lead from wherever we are.
Yeah, you don't have to have a title to be a leader.
That's exactly
We
right.
have a call, Pastor? Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Priscilla. How are you?
I'm good. Is this Bill?
This is Bill. Bill Wright. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Very well. I see that you have Mr. Charlie Titus on this morning as your guest.
Yes, I do. You must be watching.
I am watching, and I have two things to say about Charlie Titus.
Okay.
While I was working at the UMass President's office, Charlie, of course, was the athletic director at UMass Boston and the basketball coach. And I was able to work with reporter, columnist Adrian Walker at the Globe, who was good enough to do a piece about all of the work that Charlie had been doing over the years for young people in particular in Boston. And I know that his influence has been great for decades. My very good friend Rodney Hughes was also someone who worked with him. And I think that many young people who have gone on to college and to great careers have Charlie Titus to thank for that. Now, Priscilla, Charlie went to Boston Technical High School, and as you know, back in the City League.
Bill, don't tell that story, Bill.
I will tell this story. These are free airwaves. Hello?
Yeah.
Priscilla, you want to hear this one?
Okay.
So, Charlie was a center for Boston Tech, and I played point guard for Boston Latin.
Oh boy. Okay. Go ahead.
Whenever I would play against Tech, I would bring the ball down the court, cross the half-court line, and I would run right into Charlie Titus, causing a collision. And typically, I get the call as a defensive foul, not an offensive foul, because he was so much bigger than me. So the referees took sympathy on me, and I got a few foul shots. True, Charlie?
Yeah, unfortunately, you sucked the referees in. They should not have given you those calls.
Right, because it was actually an offensive foul.
That's right.
But since you outweighed me by so much, right? How could they call the foul on me?
Well, because it was the right thing to do. But you got away with it, Bill.
At least a few times. And I know that some fantastic ball players played at Boston Tech. And one of them, who of course we lost recently, was Marshall Lewis. And Marshall Lewis was a fantastic person as well as a great ball player. And it reminded me that when the incident took place in which Marshall Lewis was stabbed, the news of that went through the school system like a flash, without cell phones, without social media, because of how rare it was for something like that to happen in our community, which of course is so different than what is taking place today. But I wanted to call in to congratulate Charlie and recognize what an impact he's had on so many young people in Boston over the years.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. You actually have not done a bad job yourself in impacting people, particularly youngsters, in the work you did while you were in the president's office. You know, it was important for all of us, the role that you played in that office in communications and making sure that we had access and that the right information was getting out for our community. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I will say that of the chancellors I worked with over my 16 years there, Keith Motley was by far the most impressive of those chancellors. And I know that his role as one of the few black college presidents, leaders, is an inspiration to other people who may aspire to those things. Because as you know, unfortunately in Boston, we haven't had the same opportunities as take place in other cities. And as Priscilla is well aware, almost every major city in this country has a black or Latino mayor. Boston still has to get to that point, and eventually we will figure out how not to have major black candidates, two candidates, knockheads, allowing for someone else to become mayor. We'll figure it out.
We sure
But
will.
thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Bill. And Bill, you need to come join the block. I'm gonna send you an invite. I'm gonna send you an invite. You can come on Zoom tonight and hear about what we're doing, because that's exactly what we're trying to do, is organize our community so that we have a voice and really elect the people that we want to elect. And that's, we're gonna have to get out, do some door knocking, some phone banking, some voter registration, because that's what it's about. It's unfortunate that we should have a black mayor, but we don't. And so we just have to keep trying and just keep working at it. This is an election year for people who don't know. The city councilors are all running for re-election, I believe. Oh, except for Frank Baker. He's leaving. Ain't that nice? Ain't that nice?
And Kenzie Bach is going to the BHA, the Housing Authority.
Yep.
But Charlie, I also want to let you know that when that Adrian Walker article ran in the Boston Globe, President Bulger sent me a personal note, and he said that that kind of publication and that kind of attention to the university, even in the individual campuses, is a tremendous boost for the system overall.
Well, you know, President Bulger, in spite of all the things that were said about him, the one thing that I do recall is that he really believed in the university, and he did a lot to open eyes towards the importance of the university, particularly the Boston campus, for students in the greater Boston area.
I agree. Thank you. Have a great morning.
Thank you, Bill. Look out for the email from me, okay?
I will.
Okay. Right. You know, it's strange. I'm looking here at your bio, and it says that you called the first meet of 18 small college in New England to discuss forming a basketball conference. You then played a critical role in the formation and development of the Little East Conference, which has established itself as one of the premier Division III athletic conferences in New England. So I don't know the difference between the Division I or Division V. What are the differences?
Well, there are three divisions in the NCAA, and that really came about in the 70s. You know, before then there were just two divisions: small college and major college sports. The NCAA federated and created three divisions. Division I is what you would call big-time college sports: Michigan, Duke. They give out scholarships and make a lot of money and have a lot of resources. Division II is also a scholarship division, but they don't have the same emphasis on their sports programs as the big Division I's do. Mm-hmm. Division III is non-scholarship, and the emphasis at Division III, and one of the reasons I love being at Division III so much, is really on development of the individual, academically, athletically, morally, and supporting and providing just surround care as the student athletes, I like to call them student scholars, proceed through their 4 years of college, playing a sport and earning a degree.
Yeah, my nephew, I'm proud of my nephew. He's in Michigan. And they, unfortunately, the only game that I ever sat down and was able to watch completely, they lost. And that was in the beginning of the
tournament, NCAA tournament.
Yeah. So,
but he's at Michigan State. He's a fine young player.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, and I'm like, well, he's a freshman and he's getting played. You know, he's able to play. So I say he got 3 more years, and we'll see what happens. But I'm hoping and praying to be able to go to a live game, to see him. They were in Madison Square Garden twice.
Right,
So,
right.
but yeah, I'm a lot more interested in basketball now that my nephew.
I bet you are. It's a family thing now.
Yeah. It's a blessing. I think my niece Crystal, I have to give her kudos. She did great with her sons, and she, she's an athlete
She
herself.
was quite a basketball player.
Yeah. I like to tell the story of Crystal when we used to do Juneteenth at the park every year, and one year I don't know where it came from, but you know how they put up the hoops, the mail cart with the the basketball with the
On the back of the cart?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so they were playing, and so Crystal, nobody knew that Crystal was a basketball player, right? So they were like, "Oh yeah, I'll bet you this, I'll bet you that." She took all their money. It was so funny. I said, "Okay," but yeah, she's really good. I mean, she's really did great with her boys. She has a triple threat basketball, girls basketball. She's doing some great work up there in Minnesota, And so it goes to show sometimes you go to college and you wind up staying there,
Right.
I doubt very seriously if she would have been able to get the opportunities here that she got in Minnesota, and because she got a scholarship as well, athletic scholarship. So
And she made her mark there. And
yeah, she did. Yeah,
actually, she's a legend out there.
yeah, she is. I love to go visit her. But yeah, it was wonderful too to be able to go to the graduation and see Trey graduate and everything. So, yeah, I'm a little bit more of a basketball fan. I mean, I like the Celtics. I don't care what happens. I'm a Celtics fan. But the other stuff like the football, I'm not into football. I watch it all the time, but I just watch it because my friends watch it. But I still don't understand what's going on. But the more I watch it, I think the better I get at knowing what's going on. But I wanted to So you just did a lot of different. You've been inducted into 6 different halls of fame. I mean, it's just amazing. And so, tell us some more about the leadership that you're going to be teaching our young folks. Because
Well,
there's different types of leaderships,
there is
and-
different types of leaderships. There are. I think that what I want to try and get younger people to understand is that you can lead from wherever you are. You can be a leader just by your actions every single day.
Mhm.
And we'll talk a little bit about authoritative leadership, which means that you have been given the authority to lead.
Mhm.
And that comes in various ways. You can be appointed, you can be elected,
Mhm.
but you're in a leadership position with authority. Doesn't necessarily make you a good leader.
Mhm.
And
True.
that's where we will begin to talk about moral leadership
Mhm.
and the values that it brings to the table, and how you formulate your leadership as a moral leader. So that I'll talk about pillars of leadership and the values that people hold, what they need to hold in each one of those pillars. We'll talk about things like integrity,
Mhm.
honesty, trust, respect.
Yes.
And the other thing is that leadership does not necessarily mean you give orders.
Mhm.
Leadership, the best leaders, I think, are the facilitators of success of the people that they're leading.
Mm.
And that's a lot different than just sort of giving out orders. It means that you involve people in decision making.
You're right.
You
Right.
involve people in the planning of the operation or the purpose that you're working towards.
Right.
And then you try and make sure that they have the tools they need to be successful in the roles that they're playing.
Mhm.
So that's just a little taste. I don't want to do too
yeah,
much of
yeah,
it this morning. That's-
right. Yeah, but it sounds good. I can't wait. But yeah, it's I feel like our young children, our young people are out there, and they're searching, but they're searching. Sometimes they're searching in the wrong places, but sometimes they search in the right places too. And it's leaders like you and other leaders that in our community that do come back and give back, and try to, because we have so much stuff going on. We have so many issues. You don't know which one to tackle first, and so I feel like the young folks are the ones that really need us. They need our attention. They need us to work with them and to support them and to help them. And so that's where I'm focused at.
Well, you know, when I was growing up, there were things that just weren't a factor in our lives. For example, technology has changed the way
Yes.
that children grow.
Yes.
We never worried about getting shot
Mm-mm.
when I was growing up,
No.
but that's critical today.
Yeah.
So as the world has changed, I think that it is incumbent upon all adults who care about young people to sort of make sure that we're in there addressing some of those issues and trying to help our young people navigate through the world they live in.
You're right. It's hard. It's because this world that we live in, especially for our black and brown boys and girls, is it's different. They're taught, you know, they're not treated the same, and I feel like now, you know, after this Black Lives Matter movement, you know, a lot of young folks have stepped up, but we had leaders before, you know, they just, I feel like it's who you're listening to and who you're following, you know, that's going to help you. And sometimes, sometimes our kids just hard-headed, you know, but I feel like some of them, they need love. You know, sometimes you might just need a hug, you know, sometimes you may have had a bad day. And one thing I don't like is the fact that they feel like they have to medicate our children, you know, to make them do right. You know, I've always been against medication for our young folks. But they say it helps some of them, you know, I don't know.
Well, you know, I'm in a position where I get to see a lot of young people. And I got to tell you, Priscilla, I'm optimistic, particularly in the city. When I see some of the work that the young folk are doing, the positions that they're in, positions that we never, ever could access in the past. And what's more is that they are in those positions feeling empowered, not afraid to speak up, not afraid to challenge, in a professional and respectful way.
Right.
That's a major, major change in Boston. You know, there's a young group called Boston While Black. It's a group of professionals, and I think that their major purpose is to try and ensure that young professionals who come to the city to work or go to school or have grown up here and become professional folk stay here. We lose a lot of great talent because it's been a tough place for young black professionals in the past. So in that regard, I'm really optimistic, and again, want to try and do everything I can to support them. There are businesses opening up, and hopefully those businesses will get supported by our community so that they can grow and prosper.
That's true. Because when we say that we don't have our businesses, but we also have to support our businesses, you know.
That's right.
And so it's one thing when you don't have it, but then when you have it and you don't support it, then that's a problem and an issue. But I believe that, I mean, I do see, like I said, change is coming. Change, you know, we see change every day. And it is good to see our young people prosper, and, you know, because a lot of them can't even afford to live here. They grew up here. That's a major issue. You know, gentrification is alive and well.
It is alive and well. My son grew up in Roxbury, and he can't afford to live in Roxbury. He's living in Stoughton.
I'm telling you.
There's a beautiful house out there, but you know, the other thing that we have to understand is the convenience of living inside the city. So everything I do generally is 15 to 20 minutes from my house. You know, when you're out in Stoughton or Randolph or Brockton or wherever, it's a drive, and you have to. Your life is different because of the travel time you put in if you have a lot of activity in the city. Culturally and socially, it's basically in the city. And so, you know, those are factors that you have to sort of put in there. The other thing is the power is in the city. It's not in the suburbs when you talk about Boston. And so access and proximity become important.
That's true. Especially like when you get shipped out, like when you get gentrified out, like toward Brockton or Randolph. They don't have regular MBTAs like we do. Like you can just go out your door and jump on a bus and go somewhere. They have to go get a bus. I don't even know how often they run out there. I know about the BAT bus that comes back and forth, but it is an inconvenience, And so, but I mean, they continue to build buildings. They continue to build all these apartments and stuff. And who are they building them for?
Well, they're building them for people who can afford to live there.
Right.
And so if you take a look at what happened in Seattle as a result of it becoming Amazon's headquarters. So Amazon brought all those folk to Seattle and who could afford to pay high rents or could afford to buy $1 million condos. Seattle's homeless problem is off the charts. And you can see that across the country. In the urban areas, this wealth gap is just increasing and increasing. So you have people working for biotech industry, groups like Amazon who are making really good salaries and they can afford it. God bless them. I don't begrudge them for it. But at the same time, our public policies is where we can address how we sort of tackle that wealth gap and create better housing stock for more people. Exactly,
because almost every street you go, unfortunately, something's going up, and they're putting them in these little corners and stuff. It's like, you go down the street one day and then you go back next week and there's a house there. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's everywhere. And it's unfortunate. It really is. I mean, because even if you work, because in order to work for the city of Boston, you have to live in the city of Boston. But what happens when you can't afford to live in the city of Boston, right? So a lot of things need to be done, and we just have to, grasp it one day at a time. One problem, one issue, but sometimes it's just everybody's coming at you. It's a lot.
Well, I think it's the importance of organizations like the Block. And I was fortunate enough to be there at the beginning.
And we thank you.
My schedule doesn't allow me to participate the way that I want to, but the Block has a group of young, committed leaders who are committed to making positive change.
Yeah.
And even though this is a light election year, it's still an election year, but more importantly, and we talked about this early on as you were forming the Block, we don't want to come together just in big election years and try and have an impact. Need to be together throughout the year, develop agendas, and be ready when the election years come around.
That's right, because we have one every year.
Right.
It's without a doubt, we're going to have an election. On the odd year, it's the city council, and on the even, it's the state, And so it shouldn't be we shouldn't have to keep trying to fight to get people to the polls, because you can look around and see the difference. Like, I have to give my brother, Pastor Hobbs, he goes into the prisons and registers people to vote. Him and Nika Elugado and someone else, who else was it worked on you about the ballot box initiative and the...
Sheriff Tompkins actually worked with it as well.
Okay, yeah, about a lot being it. Well, you can tell the pastor, sure thing.
It's just a ballot box initiative. It's really just building infrastructure in Nashua House of Correction, Suffolk County House of Correction, as Sheriff Tompkins is the only sheriff in the Commonwealth of color who has been very accommodating to allow a team of us volunteers to come into the House of Correction, bring in absentee ballot application, registration forms, information about there was a special election, about who the candidates are. We even bring the candidates in, and so we're piecemealing it, but we want to really build infrastructure so that ultimately the sheriff will communicate to the Board of Elections, everyone under their custody who's eligible to vote, and that they will then send them an absentee ballot to their respective cells. That they almost have to opt out, but it's much more aggressive in that returning citizens have the right to vote if they're not presently serving a felony conviction. Though that said, the infrastructure is not in place, so there's a de facto disenfranchisement. So we're trying to empower them that it's actually that they're enfranchised and they can exercise the right that they have to be civically engaged.
So that's an important initiative. And, one of the things I would say to your listeners, Priscilla, is get involved. Find an area that interests you, whether it's the block or the initiative with the prisoners being able to vote or register to vote, whether it's an issue with returning citizens, whether it's youth. Get involved, because what that will end up meaning is we will have a collective impact.
Exactly.
And we're not just focused on this area or that area. We're talking about all the things that make a community whole.
Right.
And so find something that interests you and you think that you are willing to put time into, and get involved.
Yeah.
Become a citizen of your community, which will help build our community and strengthen it.
Exactly. That is so true. I mean, I grew up in Roxbury too, right down there in Orchard Park Project.
The historic Orchard Park projects.
Pastor Bruce Wall, the founder and CEO, is saying good morning to you as well, Brother Titus.
Well, good morning to the pastor.
Yes, good morning, Pastor. You kicked me to the curb this morning, but that's okay. That's okay. I have Pastor Hobbs. But yeah, I mean, growing up in Orchard Park, I was a Black Panther too. I wasn't officially one, but I was unofficially. But it was just so, back then, I mean, times were rough, times were hard. I remember.
The times demanded that type of activism.
Right. And it was good activism. The things that
course.
the Black Panthers brought into our community, It wasn't until they had to defend themselves and pick up that gun, it was when everything just kind of got, sad.
At the end of the day, in the gun lobby, will tell you this, it is the right of every citizen to defend themselves.
Right. As long as you're not black. But unfortunately, we live in a time where things go by, like time is just like speeding by. I cannot believe that we're in May. It just seems like we're just in January. Time just is just, and the older we get, the quicker it goes. That's the problem. That's the problem, So that's why the Bible tells us to work while it's day, because night comes when no man can work. So we got to try to do the best that we can.
Well, it speaks to the value of each day and the blessing of each day, and that we all should take advantage of every single waking moment that we have. I don't tell people what to do or how to do it, but certainly would encourage everybody to engage in activities that are energizing. I believe in service, and I think that service is an important part of the reason that we're all here, is to help one another. And I also believe in self-care.
Right.
So get up, get it moving, and take advantage of daylight.
I hear you. So let's see. So I'm looking forward to Saturday. We last week the youth went to GBH Studios, so that was exciting for them. They didn't act all excited, but I know that they were, because I could tell by the evaluation slips, how they felt about the program. But I'm looking, to revamp our program. We want to do some work with the youth in the summer, doing some get out the vote type of work, which will probably get some students from Madison Park. But we're going to start our Marcus and Anthony back up in September. And we're really looking at how to really make it so that our young folks are like, you need to come to this program, because this will change. And some of them, did say that they're learning things that they wouldn't learn in school, and we know that because we know they're not being taught in school, like Professor Jermadari, he's one of my professors, and what he teaches about, Shagun's one of our facilitators, it's just James Mackey, he came in and, because he's an entrepreneur. I mean, he got about 4 or 5 businesses, I believe, but he was, and he was very engaging with the young folks, and really got them up and talking and stuff. So he promised he was going to bring them a hat or either a T-shirt, his different brand. And sure enough, he did. He came back and he brought everybody got either a T-shirt or a shirt that said nice. Different, and it is nice. And so it's a blessing to see young people, with their ideas and pushing it forward, And so that's what I'm about. I'm about ensuring that our young folks have the tools that they need. And I don't know everything. That's why I call on people like you and other people, like my pastor. And, I call folks that I know things, and like I said, they're getting college education. When you got professors and doctors and things coming to talk to you and teachers. So we're excited. We actually may be moving. We might be graduating from the DeWitt Center into Roxbury Community Colleges.
Nice.
So that's where maybe our September program is going to start. So, Dr. Jackie Jenkins is so accommodating. She's actually going to be our keynote speaker. And she's just a sweet spirit. And the things that she's done, like with Wheelock and Dimmick, and now Roxbury Community College, she's brought it back to life. It was kind of like, what's going on over there? But it's a blessing to be able to call people and they come and they support, because this is what we need.
Well, we come, because it's important. It's about our future.
Right.
We're dealing with our future when we talk about young people. Your program, the Marcus Hall Anthony Education Institute, when I looked at it, the thing that struck me the most is that it's a citizenship program. It's teaching black citizenship. That is absolutely critical. And I have not really seen a lot of programs that really do that in the way that you do. So,
thank you.
And then, I was over at the Mel King Tech Center the other day.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing some marvelous work with young people
Yep.
in the technical field.
Yes.
And so, again, I come back to this whole notion of collective impact.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a program called G's to Gents,
Mm-hmm.
where the young man who runs it focuses on finding young men who are susceptible to going the gangway,
Mm-hmm.
and tries to turn them and give them an opportunity to understand what it means to be a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, not all kids are the same. Not all
Right.
kids need the same thing.
That's true. That's
And
true.
So all of these programs together
Yep.
give us that collective impact
Yep.
that I think will turn our community. And it doesn't. One of the things that you're showing in G's to Gents and the Tech Center is you have to have $1 million
You're right.
to do it.
Right.
And you don't have to have 200 kids in your program.
That's right. That's right. Each one teach one.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're hoping, that some of the young folks that actually went through the program will come and work with us this summer.
Mm-hmm.
We did that. One of our star pupils. I think you heard her at the launch, Bermina.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you, she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
She is like a poster child for Marcus Anthony, because she went through the program. After the program was over, she worked with us during the summer. Then she went and got, I think she's always worked like 2 or 3 jobs at one time. She actually told me that she started saving for college when she was 14, and she's now 19. She's in her second year at BU. And she works for Marcus Anthony, and she just enjoyed it. She liked the program, the process that we went through. We ordered the Black Tax book by Sean Rochester. Yep. Our first semester, he actually came. We were on Zoom, so we ordered the books for the young folks, and we gave each one of them a book. And we actually sent it to their house, and because we was on Zoom, because we had a couple students from North Carolina, a couple students from Texas, and a couple students from Minnesota. So we sent them that book, and asked them to read it, because we was going to have Sean Rochester come on and talk about it. And he did a fireside chat, him and Cece, and it was so good. It was so interesting. I'm telling you, that's the first book I've read in a long time that almost every page is like highlighted, because the things that he was saying, and you think about it. When you're growing up, you don't realize it, but once you get a little bit of age, you realize that, maybe I was qualified for that job. Maybe they just didn't give it to me because I was black. I'll never forget the time I went on like 23 job interviews, right? And I kept saying, Keep going, Priscilla. All you need is one yes, you know, and that's how I wind up working for the city for over 20 years, running their payroll, because I got that one yes. So,
You know, Priscilla, patina, there are lots and lots of patinas out there. You just don't hear about them. What the media shows is the sensational, the negative. But I think that we have so many wonderful young people. And I would venture to say, I believe the stats back this up, we have more positive, wonderful young people doing good in our community than we have bad.
exactly, and you never hear about them.
That's right.
You know, and that's why I'm fortunate to have this broadcast and this airway, to be able to bring people like them in. You know, one year I had Erica's, because before she was running the community center, she was doing the youth program, and I let them come in one day, and I think it was her and James Mackey, yeah. And they brought their students in, and they just did the show. You know, they just talked about, I think it was close to the time where they were going to go to the State House and march for jobs.
Okay.
It doesn't make no sense they have to go up there every single February and ask for jobs. The people know they need jobs, so why you gotta, you know, my thing about it was, okay, you're going up there, you're gonna ask for jobs, but then when you leave there, you need to go to City Hall and register to vote.
Right.
Or go online and register to vote,
Right.
because that's where it's going to have the impact. You know, when imagine 1,000 people walking to City Hall registering to vote. Don't you know they would be shaking in their boots on the 5th floor? You know, and this is what we have to do. You know, there's a raise the age, you know, so that students can vote at 16. I don't see nothing wrong with it. If you can drive a car, if you can drop out of school, why can't you vote at 16? You know, I mean, I think sometimes if we allow our young folks to have a little bit more say in things and feel a little bit, you know, they would be able to think different, you know. But if everything that they want to do is like no, 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 you know, then that's why a lot of times they turn and don't want to be bothered. But I
Well,
really believe.
We got to grab those that are turning, and you know, and keep pushing. There's a shift that's taking place in this country, and it's a clear shift, and you see the reaction to the shift and the laws that the conservatives are trying to put in place. This last grasp effort to keep power and control. But I see young people, and to me, you know, you can't have many discussions in this country without race playing a factor.
Exactly.
And what I see with the young people is that, yes, race is a factor, but it's not a negative factor. So, you know, there is some power in youth, and the movement and the attitude that I see in the young people has me very optimistic about the future.
Yeah, yeah. I think Teen Empowerment does a great job with the
Yes,
work
they
they're
do.
doing. I think Madison Park also does a good job with their summer youth, you know. But we had to shake Madison Park up a little bit, you know, back when they were building tropical foods and stuff. We had to shake them up, you know. But things have changed. I see, you know, they have their own youth center there now. You know, I mean, the community center is beautiful there, you know.
That's the DeWitt.
Yeah, you know, and they have other things going on in Hibernian Hall as well,
Right.
around the youth and the children and stuff. So I'm happy. I'm
Well,
glad to see.
They have young leadership, new young leadership
Yeah,
too. See,
yeah.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I am absolutely optimistic about what I see with the younger folk coming along today.
Well, I'm optimistic too. If I wasn't optimistic, I wouldn't be doing it.
Amen.
So, like I say, we are the people and we have the power. So, I stand on that.
All right.
Yeah. So, we don't even have a lot more minutes. 4 minutes. So, Professor, why you call him Professor?
It's okay by me.
So, Child Vice Chancellor. So, when exactly did you retire from?
2020.
Oh, okay. Oh, right at COVID, huh?
Yes.
Right
just
during COVID.
Right there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I am probably as busy, if not busier, in my retirement. But the good news is it's picking and choosing. Now I can do
Right.
the things and focus where I really want to focus. One of the things I did was to start a foundation. And we have two purposes in our mission. Our overall mission is to support and nurture the youth of today while creating pathways for the leaders of tomorrow. We have my late wife, who was a big part of what I did at UMass Boston. So we established a scholarship in her name, Paula Titus Scholarship.
Oh, okay.
And we raised money for that through a golf tournament and our marathon runners. And we also raised money to support, again, small grassroots organizations in our community that are doing impactful work with children. And so that's that collective impact again. And I think that the funds that we give out, we don't have any big grants. I mean, they're fairly small compared to the grant world, but I think that they help and have impact.
They do. They
And
do.
there are a lot of small programs out here that do great job. They may have 12, 15 kids a year, but they do a great job with that 12 or 15.
That's right.
There's a multiplier effect out of that.
Right.
And so we want to continue to support those kinds of operations. And again, it's this whole push towards collective impact.
That's right. We should all be in collaboration, not competition.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I can say that Marcus Anthony has been blessed to be a recipient of the Titus Foundation when we did our launch. So we're thankful and grateful for that because every little bit helps. And